When Monique walked into that courtroom, no one expected what she carried in her hand, a sealed envelope that would shatter every illusion Edward Osefo built around his name. For months, Edward denied everything: the money transfers, the private calls, the mysterious meetings, but what Monique held wasn't rumor, it was proof. The kind of proof that ends careers, marriages, and reputations in a single moment. As the judge demanded she present her evidence, the silence in the room turned suffocating. Then she handed over the phone. One by one, the messages flashed across the screen. Messages Edward thought were deleted forever. Messages that revealed manipulation, betrayal, and a dangerous plan hidden behind fake loyalty. By the time the courtroom gasped, Edward's face had already turned pale. Because the texts didn't just expose a lie, they hinted at something far darker, something no one was ready to hear. For weeks, rumors had been swirling, whispers of a hidden alliance, a private conversation that no one was supposed to hear, and a series of text messages that could destroy everything Edward Osefo had fought to protect. People said it was just gossip, the usual noise around a public scandal. But Monique knew better. She'd seen those messages with her own eyes, the ones Edward sent late at night, the ones that revealed how far he'd go to protect his lies. It all began after Wendy's lawsuit. The tension between Edward and Monique had been simmering under the surface for months. They were once close allies, but something changed. "You think you can just walk away after what we did?" Monique had allegedly texted him one night, a message that would later become one of the key pieces of evidence. Edward never replied, but what came after was even darker. Insiders say Monique discovered Edward's secret plan, an elaborate scheme to cover his financial tracks by shifting blame onto Wendy. There were hidden accounts, staged meetings, and coded messages. But what truly set her off was what she found in his phone, a series of texts between Edward and an unnamed contact discussing how to neutralize Wendy's credibility before the trial. Those words, "neutralize her," would haunt the case. When the screenshots first surfaced online, fans couldn't believe it. One comment read, "Edward always seemed too calm. Guess now we know why." Another said, "Monique is either the boldest woman in this story, or the most dangerous." And as those screenshots spread like wildfire, the entire internet took sides. Behind the scenes, Monique was being warned to stay quiet. "You're making a mistake," one of Edward's associates allegedly told her. "You don't know who you're messing with." But she wasn't backing down. She'd already made up her mind. If Edward was going to paint her as a liar, she was going to burn the mask right off his face. Court insiders described the atmosphere that morning as electric with fear. Monique's hands trembled slightly as she took the stand. Edward avoided her eyes. His lawyer whispered something, maybe a plea, maybe a threat, but it didn't matter anymore. The truth was about to unfold. When the prosecutor asked Monique to describe her evidence, she simply said, "You'll want to see this yourself." The judge nodded. The phone was connected to the court screen, and within seconds, the first messages appeared. "You said she'd never find out. She's getting too close, make her look unstable. After this deal, we disappear." A heavy silence filled the courtroom. Wendy's attorney turned toward Edward, eyes wide with disbelief. Even the reporters, usually emotionless, looked stunned. In that moment, Edward's reputation cracked wide open. But what no one knew yet was that Monique hadn't shown everything. The texts were just the surface, the introduction to something much deeper. A pattern of manipulation, a trail of deceit that led far beyond Wendy's case. She had kept the most damning messages locked away, waiting for the right time. And as she stepped down from the stand, she whispered something under her breath that only one person heard. "This isn't over. Not even close." Outside the courthouse, fans screamed, reporters swarmed, and social media exploded. But inside, one thing was clear: Edward Osefo was no longer fighting for control. He was fighting for survival. The courtroom had barely settled after Monique's bombshell when the next wave hit, and this time, it wasn't screenshots. It was audio. A recorded call that no one, not even Wendy's legal team, had been expecting. The clip began innocently enough. Edward's voice, calm and composed. But within seconds, the tone shifted. "She thinks she's untouchable," he said, his voice dripping with arrogance. Then came a faint laugh. "Don't worry, by the time I'm done, Wendy won't have a name left to clear." That single line detonated through the courtroom like an explosion. Gasps, murmurs, and the echo of disbelief filled the room. Monique just sat still, eyes locked on Edward, as if she had been waiting for this exact moment. Edward's lawyer tried to object, but it was too late. The damage was done. Outside, social media went into a frenzy. "Did he really just admit that?" one fan tweeted. Another wrote, "This isn't drama anymore. This is a takedown." Even major news outlets began picking it up within minutes, calling it the most explosive court leak of the year. But the audio was only the beginning. What followed was darker, a string of private messages between Edward and Monique from months before the trial. Leaked directly to a gossip blog under an anonymous name, the messages revealed something no one expected. Monique wasn't just a witness. She had once been Edward's accomplice. "You said we'd both walk away clean," Monique wrote in one of the leaked texts. Edward responded coldly, "That was before you started talking to her." The her, of course, was Wendy. This revelation sent shockwaves through every corner of social media. Fans who had once rallied behind Monique began to question her motives. Was this revenge or redemption? One viral TikTok asked. Maybe she's only doing this because Edward turned on her first. Meanwhile, Edward's team scrambled to regain control of the narrative. They released a statement calling Monique an unreliable witness with personal motives, claiming she had doctored the messages. But within hours, forensic experts confirmed the data was real. Every timestamp, every metadata entry matched perfectly. The internet tore him apart. Even those who once defended him began to fold. A viral Reddit post read, "If Edward really planned to ruin Wendy and used Monique to do it, that's beyond betrayal. That's evil." Inside the courtroom, Wendy sat quietly, her expression unreadable. She had warned them, all of them, that Edward wasn't who he seemed. Now the world was finally seeing it. Then came the second audio clip, the one Monique hadn't planned to release. This time, her own voice was heard, shaky and uncertain. "I don't want to do this anymore," she said softly. "I didn't sign up to destroy her life." Edward's response was chilling. "You already did. The moment you helped me, you made your choice." The room fell silent. For a moment, even the judge seemed lost for words. The jurors looked shaken. The public, who had been treating this case like entertainment, suddenly realized what they were hearing, the unraveling of two people who had built an entire lie on manipulation and greed. But it wasn't over. There was still one more piece of evidence Monique had hinted at, something she hadn't yet revealed, something even Wendy hadn't seen. Rumors spread like wildfire that it was a hidden document, a video, or even proof of someone else's involvement. Reporters began camping outside the courthouse, begging for a statement. "Monique, what's the next move?" one shouted as she exited. She didn't answer. She just smiled faintly and said, "Truth always comes in layers." Edward, meanwhile, looked like a ghost of his former self. The confident man who once controlled every room now avoided every camera. In a leaked conversation with his lawyer, he allegedly said, "If she drops that last piece, I'm done. Everything's over." That one line would haunt the public. What was the last piece? Who else was involved? And as Monique's car pulled away from the courthouse, the city buzzed with one question: was she about to bring Edward down completely, or go down with him? Because one thing was certain now, the darkest secrets hadn't all been exposed yet. Not even close. When the final day of the hearing arrived, there was a silence heavier than words. The kind that hangs in the air right before something life-changing happens. Monique sat at the witness stand again, this time without hesitation, without fear. And across the room, Edward avoided her eyes, his hands clasped tight, the weight of weeks of lies pressing down on him. The judge's voice broke through the tension. "Ms. Samuels, you mentioned one final piece of evidence. You may present it now." A tremor ran through the courtroom. Monique reached into her folder, her fingers shaking slightly, and slid a flash drive across the table. This, she said softly, is what Edward never wanted anyone to hear. Within minutes, the audio filled the room, Edward's voice again, but this time different. Tired, angry, cornered. "You think you're saving her?" he said. "You're just protecting someone who would have done the same to you. Wendy isn't innocent. None of us are." The words hit like a bullet. Wendy's jaw tightened. Even Monique looked stunned. What did he mean? What else had Wendy done? Then the recording continued. A faint sound of papers rustling. Edward's tone dropped to a whisper. "I didn't fake those documents alone. I had help. And not from who you think." Gasps rippled through the room. Wendy's lawyer rose instantly, objecting, but the judge let the clip play. The rest of the audio was incomplete static, then silence. Whatever name Edward said after that was gone. In that moment, no one knew what to believe. Was Edward lying to save himself? Or was there really someone else, another player in this web of deceit? Monique's voice trembled as she addressed the judge. "I don't know who he meant," she said, "but I think he recorded that the night before the lawsuit was filed. He was planning something bigger, something none of us saw coming." Edward finally looked up. His eyes met Wendy's, and for a heartbeat, the world seemed to stop. Then, with a deep breath, he said the first honest words anyone had heard from him in months. "You destroyed me," he said quietly, "but I guess I earned it." The judge ordered a recess, but no one moved. Wendy didn't smile, didn't speak, she just sat there, staring straight ahead, as though she'd seen the ghost of the man she once knew. When court adjourned that day, everything felt unfinished. Reporters screamed questions outside, headlines spun theories, some called Edward's last tape a desperate bluff, others swore it hinted at a bigger conspiracy. And then, late that night, something happened no one expected. A new email surfaced, anonymous, containing the uncut version of Edward's final recording. It was longer by 15 seconds. Long enough to hear one last, chilling line. "She helped me. She always knew." The file ended abruptly after that. The next morning, Wendy's team denied everything. Monique disappeared from the spotlight, her social media wiped clean. Edward's lawyers refused to comment. But the damage was already done. The truth was now a puzzle the world couldn't stop trying to solve. Online, theories exploded. Who was Edward really talking about? Was it Monique? Wendy? Someone else entirely? Every answer only led to more questions. And somewhere in the middle of that chaos, Wendy was seen leaving her house at dawn alone, hood pulled low, no cameras, no entourage. A neighbor claimed she looked like she'd been crying. Another said she was holding a phone, listening to a recording on loop. Maybe it was Edward's last message. Maybe it was something no one else had heard yet. But one thing was clear, this wasn't the end. It was just the quiet before the next storm. Because in stories like this, the truth never dies quietly. It waits for the perfect moment to come back and finish what it started. Edward's confession changed everything, but it also opened a door no one was ready for. The courtroom may have gone silent that day, but the echoes of his final words still haunt every corner of this story. "She helped me. She always knew." Who was he talking about? Was Wendy hiding something darker than anyone realized, or did Edward twist one last lie to drag her down with him? What we know is shocking, but what we don't know might destroy someone's entire reputation. Because somewhere out there, the full version of that recording still exists, and the person holding it could flip this entire case upside down. If you think this story ends here, think again. The next leak might finally expose who really orchestrated everything. Comment full recording if you want me to uncover what was truly hidden behind Edward's last words. The next chapter changes everything.